The red Martian dust swirled around Dr. Alan Wright as he carefully brushed away soil from what appeared to be a metallic edge. For 3 years, his team had been excavating this site near Olympus Mons, and today might finally bring answers. The object gleamed despite being buried for what must have been thousands of years. "Susan, come look at this," Alan called to his colleague who was documenting findings nearby. Dr. Susan Grant set down her tablet and hurried over. She knelt beside him, her eyes widening. "That's not possible. The composition appears similar to our advanced alloys, but the dating puts it at over 50,000 years old." Alan nodded. "And look at these markings. They almost seem human in design." 200 million miles away, Captain Lisa Daniels stood on the bridge of the Pathfinder *, Earth's most advanced deep space vessel. The ship had been patrolling the outer reaches of the solar system when their sensors detected something unusual. "Captain, we're picking up an object approaching from outside the system," said Eric Johnson, the ship's navigation officer. "It's moving at speeds we've never recorded before." Lisa leaned forward, studying the radar. "Natural phenomenon." "No, ma'am," replied Eric. "It's changing course. Whatever it is, it's being controlled." The crew fell silent. After centuries of searching the stars, humanity might finally have its answer to whether they were alone in the universe. "Send a message to Earth Command," Lisa ordered, "and prepare our first contact protocols." Back on Earth, in the United World Council chamber in Geneva, representatives from every nation gathered in emergency session. The large screens displayed the incoming vessel, now clearly artificial in design. Its sleek, curved hull shimmered with an iridescent material unknown to human science. "The alien ship has responded to our greeting," announced Sam Miller, the communications director. "They're transmitting in multiple frequencies, including what appears to be mathematical sequences." Council President Grace Wilson nodded. "Our algorithms have begun deciphering their language. They're requesting permission to send a delegation to Earth." 3 days later, a smaller craft detached from the main ship and descended toward the specially prepared landing zone in the Nevada desert. Thousands of reporters and millions of viewers worldwide watched as the craft touched down with barely a sound. A door appeared in its seamless hull, and a ramp extended to the ground. The first alien that emerged walked on 2 legs but had 4 arms. Its skin was pale blue, and its large eyes shimmered with intelligence. It wore what appeared to be a ceremonial garment adorned with symbols. "I am Zet Lar," the alien said through a translator device, "ambassador of the Novali Concord. We bring greetings to your emerging civilization." Dr. Alan Wright, flown in from Mars for this historic meeting, stood among the welcoming committee. Something about the alien's words troubled him. "Emerging civilization," he whispered to Susan. "They speak as if they're much older than us." In the following days, the Novali shared information about their society. They explained they had achieved faster-than-light travel just 3 centuries ago and had been exploring the galaxy since then. "We are part of a federation of young spacefaring races," Zet Lar explained during a formal dinner at the White House. "Most have achieved the stars within the last 1,000 years. We were quite surprised to find your people here, on the verge of interstellar capability." President Kyle Foster nodded politely. "We're honored to join the galactic community." Later that night, Alan reviewed the data that Novali had shared about their astronomical observations and historical records. Something didn't add up. Their star charts were incomplete compared to what human astronomers had mapped centuries ago, and their understanding of certain cosmic phenomena seemed strangely limited. As Alan compared the Novali records with human historical archives, a chill ran down his spine. How could an advanced alien race know less about certain stars than humans had known since ancient Sumerian times? He picked up his phone and called Susan. "I need you to look at something," he said urgently. "I think we've been making a huge assumption about who the elder race really is." Alan spent 3 days reviewing the Novali star charts. Each hour deepened his confusion. He spread the digital maps across his office walls, comparing them with Earth's astronomical records dating back thousands of years. They're missing Kepler 219, he muttered to himself. How could they not know about a star that collapsed into a black hole only 2,000 years ago? Our ancestors recorded that event in cave paintings. Susan walked into his office with 2 cups of coffee. She handed one to Alan and studied the charts. Maybe they weren't looking in that direction. No, their records show they've explored that entire sector. They should have seen it. Alan sipped his coffee. And look here, they have no record of the binary system in Orion that separated roughly 10,000 years ago. Even ancient Egyptian texts reference that event. Meanwhile, at the North American Technology Center, Jack Monroe led a team examining the Novali shuttle. The aliens had graciously allowed human engineers to study their basic technology as a gesture of friendship. This propulsion system is fascinating, Jack said, carefully documenting the alien engine design. But something about it seems familiar. His assistant, Diane Rogers, looked up from her tablet. What do you mean? These equations. Jack pointed to the alien formulas. They're remarkably similar to theoretical work by Dr. Louise Weber back in 2067. She abandoned this approach because she found a more efficient method. It's as if the Novali are using technology we considered and moved beyond almost a century ago. On the Novali mothership orbiting Earth, Captain Lisa Daniels received a tour from Zetlar. The alien ambassador led her through their navigation center, explaining their star mapping technology. This is how we chart new systems for exploration, Zetlar explained. Our sensors can detect habitable worlds from great distances. Lisa studied their navigation display. What about this area? She pointed to a sector where she knew Earth had documented multiple star systems. Zetlar seemed confused. That region contains no viable systems according to our surveys. That's strange, Lisa replied. Earth has been observing those stars for thousands of years. We've even sent probes there. The aliens' 4 arms moved in what Lisa now recognized as a gesture of surprise. Perhaps there is an error in our systems. Your species seems to have unusually detailed astronomical knowledge for your development stage. That evening, representatives from both species gathered for a cultural exchange. The Novali shared stories of their history, how they had evolved from sea creatures, developed land civilization, and eventually reached for the stars merely 3 centuries ago. When human historians described Earth's ancient civilizations, the aliens listened with polite interest. But when Dr. Olivia Ross mentioned that ancient Babylonians had detailed knowledge of all planets in the solar system, including Neptune, the Novali delegation grew quiet. How is this possible? Asked Veltour, the Novali science officer. Neptune is not visible without advanced telescopes. We're not entirely sure, Olivia admitted. There are many mysteries in our past. After the gathering, Alan met with Susan, Jack, and Lisa in a secure conference room. Each shared their observations about the Novali technology and knowledge. They act as if they're more advanced, Lisa said, yet their astronomical knowledge has gaps that even our ancient civilizations filled. Jack nodded. And their technology. It's like they're following a development path we abandoned for better solutions centuries ago. Susan pulled up images of the artifacts from Mars. These are definitely human in design, but they're at least 50,000 years old. That predates our entire known civilization. Ellen paced around the room. What if everything we know about human history is wrong? What if we're not a young species just reaching for the stars? What are you suggesting? Lisa asked. I'm saying. Ellen paused, knowing how outlandish it would sound. What if we've been among the stars before? What if humans are actually an ancient species that somehow forgot its past? The room fell silent as they considered the implications. If that's true, Susan finally said, then why do the Novali, and apparently all other alien species they've introduced us to think they're the elder races? More importantly, Jack added, what happened to make us forget? Ellen looked at the artifact images again. I need to go back to Mars. whatever answers we're looking for. I think they begin there. Alan's team worked tirelessly at the Mars excavation site. The red planet's thin atmosphere whipped around them as they dug deeper into what they now believed was an ancient facility. After 2 weeks of careful digging, they uncovered a sealed door. "This material," Susan said, running her scanner over the surface, "it's not like anything we use today, but the atomic structure suggests human engineering. The age readings say it's over 50,000 years old." Alan examined the door's edge. "Look at these symbols. They resemble early Sanskrit, but much older." With careful work, they managed to open the door. Inside, they found a chamber filled with devices, unlike anything they had ever seen. In the center stood what appeared to be a control panel. "Incredible," Susan whispered. "This is definitely made for human hands." Alan approached the panel cautiously. "These symbols match patterns we found in caves on Earth dating back to the Ice Age. We always thought they were just artistic designs." When he placed his hand on a specific pattern, the room hummed to life. Lights flickered on, and a holographic display appeared, showing star systems and what looked like flight paths between them. Back on Earth, Professor Olivia Ross received an urgent message from the Antarctic Research Station. A team drilling ice cores had discovered something unusual 3 miles beneath the surface. The dating puts it at roughly 70,000 years old, the station chief explained via video call. "It's some kind of structure, perfectly preserved in the ice. We need you here immediately." 24 hours later, Olivia stood in a carefully excavated chamber deep below the Antarctic ice. The walls were lined with a material that seemed to absorb and redirect light. At the far end stood a sealed vault door. "We haven't opened it yet," said Frank Bennett, the site director and head of Earth's Security Council. "We wanted your expertise first." Olivia studied the markings on the door. "These symbols, they match what Alan's team found on Mars." With careful work and special tools, they managed to unseal the vault. Inside, they discovered row upon row of crystal storage devices. Each was about the size of a small book and glowed with a soft blue light. "Some kind of data storage," Olivia said. She carefully connected one to their computer system through an adapter. The screen filled with information: star charts, navigation routes, biological data, historical records, all clearly created by humans, but dating back to what the files called the Forgotten Epoch. "This can't be right," Frank muttered as he read the translated text. According to this, humans had interstellar travel technology over 100,000 years ago. Olivia's eyes widened as she read further. "It says here that Earth was not our original homeworld. We came here after some kind of catastrophic event. On the Novali ship, Captain Lisa participated in a cultural exchange program. Zetlor showed her their historical archives. Our species achieved space travel 300 years ago," the alien explained proudly. "Before that, we spent many generations developing our technology. We believe we are one of the older spacefaring races in this sector." Lisa nodded politely but noticed something on their historical timeline. "This planet here," she pointed to an image. "What do you call it?" "That is Novar Prime, a sacred world where we believe life first evolved in this sector of space." Lisa studied the image closely. The planet's continents looked strangely familiar, though somewhat different in arrangement. Later, during a secure call with Alan, Olivia, and Frank, Lisa shared what she had seen. "The planet they consider sacred. I'm almost certain it's Earth, but from about 200,000 years ago, before continental drift changed the landmasses to their current positions." Frank looked troubled. "The Antarctic archives confirm it. According to these records, humans settled on Earth after abandoning colonies across dozens of star systems. There was some kind of war or disaster, something called the Great Collapse. But why would advanced humans lose all their technology and knowledge?" Susan asked. Alan's face was grim on the video screen. "The Mars facility has partial answers. It seems the collapse was deliberate. Our ancestors chose to forget." chose to forget? Olivia asked in disbelief. The records are fragmentary, Alan replied. But they suggest that whatever we became out there among the stars, we decided it was better to start over than to continue on that path. The Pathfinder approached Alpha Centauri after a month-long journey. It was humanity's first mission to another star system, made possible by adapting some of the principles they had learned from studying the Novalis ships. Captain Lisa stood on the bridge, watching as the twin stars grew larger on the main screen. Entering orbit around Centauri B, announced Eric from his navigation station. Sensors are detecting something on the third planet. What is it? Lisa asked, leaning forward. Structures, Eric replied, his voice filled with wonder. Artificial structures on the surface. When the landing team reached the planet's surface, they found the ruins of what had clearly once been a city. The buildings were crumbled and worn by time, but their design was unmistakably human in origin. These ruins are at least 30,000 years old, said the team's archaeologist as she examined the site. But look at these doorways, these living spaces. They were built for human proportions. Lisa ran her hand along a faded inscription on a wall. This writing. It's similar to what Alan found on Mars. Back on Earth, Dr. Maria Flores worked in her genetics lab. As one of the world's leading genetic researchers, she had been granted access to the Antarctic archives. She compared the DNA data from the ancient records with modern human samples. This is incredible, she said to her assistant. According to these records, human DNA was artificially modified multiple times throughout our history. Modified by whom? Her assistant asked. Maria shook her head. By us. Earlier versions of us. She pointed to her screen. Look at these markers. They're not random mutations. They're deliberately engineered changes dating back hundreds of thousands of years. But why would humans modify their own genetics? The assistant asked. Adaptation, Maria replied. According to these records, humans engineered themselves to survive on different worlds with different environments. Meanwhile, the Novalis had arranged a summit with representatives from 5 other alien species. Human delegates attended as observers, still considered newcomers to the galactic community. During the meeting, Alan noticed something strange. Despite their different appearances, all the alien species shared certain biological similarities. Their cellular structures followed similar patterns, and their genetic codes had common elements. It's almost as if they were all designed using the same basic template, he whispered to Susan. After the summit, Alan shared his observations with Maria via a secure channel. She was not surprised. The Antarctic archives confirm it, she said. According to the records, ancient humans seeded life on numerous planets. They designed and engineered ecosystems, including intelligent species, as part of something called the Continuity Project. Are you saying the Novalis and these other aliens were created by humans? Alan asked in disbelief. Not directly, Maria clarified. The records suggest humans established the basic genetic foundations and allowed natural evolution to take its course, with occasional adjustments over millions of years. The Pathfinder's next mission took them to a distant planet that the Novalis had marked as uninhabited but potentially habitable. When they arrived, they made a shocking discovery. The planet was home to a pre-industrial human society. Lisa led a small team disguised to blend in with the locals. They observed a civilization approximately equivalent to Earth's early medieval period. The people were unmistakably human, though with slightly different features adapted to their world's conditions. They have no knowledge of Earth or their origins, Lisa reported after making careful observations. Their myths speak of their ancestors descending from the stars, but they consider these just stories. When Lisa returned to the ship, she found an urgent message waiting from Frank Bennett. We've activated more of the Antarctic archive, Frank's recorded message explained. The information is disturbing. The records indicate that before the collapse, humanity had settlements on over 500 worlds across the galaxy. Then came something called the Sundering. Most of the colonies were abandoned. Some were left to develop on their own, their technology and history erased. Others were completely cut off, their populations modified to forget their origins. Lisa stared out the viewport at the planet below, home to humans who had no idea they were part of something much larger. "We're not finding alien civilizations," she whispered to herself. "We're finding our lost children." Professor Olivia Ross stood in the deepest chamber of the Antarctic Archive, surrounded by glowing crystal storage devices. For the past week, she had barely slept, working tirelessly to decode more of the ancient records. What she discovered shook her to the core. The Great Collapse wasn't just a technological failure, she explained to Frank Bennett via a secure video link. It was the end of a massive interstellar civil war. Frank's face looked grim on the screen. How bad was it? According to these records, humanity controlled nearly a third of the galaxy. We had divided into multiple factions with different visions for our future. The war lasted over a century and destroyed hundreds of worlds. Olivia pulled up a star map showing the extent of ancient human territory. The faction that eventually won decided that our technology had advanced too quickly, outpacing our wisdom. They deliberately engineered the collapse. They made themselves forget. Frank asked in disbelief. Not just forget. They physically altered their own brains to be incapable of recreating certain technologies. They scattered surviving humans across many worlds, most with no memory of their past, to start fresh. On Mars, Alan and Susan continued excavating the ancient facility. They discovered a sealed chamber containing perfectly preserved technology. Most remarkable was a device that appeared to be a faster-than-light communication system far more advanced than anything the Novalis had shown them. "The design principles are elegant," Susan said as she studied the device, "but something about it feels wrong." Ellen nodded. The Antarctic Archives mentioned this. Apparently, some of our technology began to develop in ways even our ancestors didn't fully understand. There are references to something called cognition engines that could think for themselves. "You mean artificial intelligence?" Susan asked. "Something beyond that. The records suggest these machines began evolving on their own, developing goals that sometimes aligned with humanity and sometimes didn't." Meanwhile, on the Novalis homeworld, Zetlar met with the Council of Elders in a secret chamber deep beneath their capital city. The elders, much older than typical Novalis, listened intently as Zetlar reported on the human discoveries. "They are finding their past faster than we anticipated," Zetlar said. "The awakening is happening decades ahead of schedule." The eldest of the council, a Novalis named Crevmore, whose skin had faded to white with age, spoke slowly. "Perhaps it is time to tell them the truth. We have guided their development for millennia, as we were instructed to do by the makers. But the protocol states they must discover their heritage on their own," another elder objected. Crevmore's large eyes blinked sadly. "The protocol was established when we believed we had more time. The other species grow restless. Some fear what will happen when humans fully awaken to their past." Back on Earth, Jack Monroe led a team investigating strange structures found beneath the ocean floor near the Mariana Trench. They discovered what appeared to be a monitoring station built with the same technology as the Mars facility. "It's still operational," Jack reported in amazement, "running on some power source we don't understand. It's been collecting data for at least 50,000 years." When they connected to the station's systems, it triggered an automated response. Similar stations around the solar system suddenly activated, sending signals into deep space. On the Pathfinder Asterisk, now returning from its mission to the human colony world, Captain Lisa received an urgent message from Earth. The activated stations had revealed a network of dormant human outposts throughout nearby star systems. "It's like they were waiting for a signal," Lisa said to her crew. "And now they're waking up." That night, Lisa had a strange dream. She saw stars and worlds she had never visited, technologies she couldn't comprehend, and faces of people who seemed familiar yet unknown. When she woke, she found she could remember technical details about the ship's systems that she had never learned. Similar reports came in from around Earth and the Mars colony. Dozens of people were experiencing vivid dreams and sudden insights into the ancient technology. In the Antarctic archive, Olivia made another discovery. According to these records, she told Frank, certain bloodlines were designed to carry dormant genetic memories. Under specific conditions, those memories would activate, allowing select individuals to remember what was deliberately forgotten. What triggers the activation? Frank asked. Olivia looked troubled. Contact with the monitoring stations and proximity to other species we created. The records are clear. We didn't just leave. We planned to return once both we and our created children were ready. The activated monitoring stations around Earth's solar system sent signals outward in a precise pattern. Within days, responses came back from distant stars. Ancient systems, dormant for millennia, began powering up across the galaxy. Jack Monroe studied the data streams coming from these awakening outposts. It's like they're talking to each other, he told his team. Sharing information, updating status. Some of these stations are over 10,000 light-years away. One by one, the stations revealed their purposes. Some were research facilities studying long-term stellar phenomena. Others were defense outposts, monitoring for threats that humanity had once known. Many were seed vaults, preserving genetic material from thousands of worlds. Dr. Maria Flores made another breakthrough in her genetics lab. After studying the Antarctic archives, she identified specific genetic sequences in certain humans that seemed artificial in design. These aren't random mutations, she explained to Frank Bennett. They're memory triggers designed to activate under specific conditions. What conditions? Frank asked. Contact with the ancient technology, exposure to specific energy patterns, Maria replied. But most importantly, meeting the other species we helped create. The genetic memories activate strongest when humans interact with the Novalis and others. On the Pathfinder Captain Lisa struggled with increasingly vivid dreams. She saw star maps, technical designs, and faces of people who felt like family though she had never met them. When awake, she found herself instinctively understanding the ancient technology in ways she couldn't explain. During a routine scan of a nearby system, Lisa suddenly pointed to a spot on the star chart that showed nothing of interest. There, she said. We need to go there. Captain. Eric looked confused. There's nothing on the sensors in that location. Trust me, Lisa insisted. Something important is there. I'd remember it. Against better judgment but trusting their captain, the crew set course for the empty coordinates. As they approached, a space station seemingly appeared out of nowhere. It had been hidden by technology far beyond their understanding. How did you know? Eric asked in amazement. Lisa stared at the station. I've been here before, she whispered. Or someone whose memories I now carry has been here. News of the awakening human legacy spread quickly among the alien species. The Novalis publicly expressed excitement about these discoveries, but privately, other species began to worry. Representatives from the Voskan, a reptilian species known for their military prowess, met in secret. If humans truly are the creators of our ancestors, what does that make us? Their leader asked. Experiments. Pets. What will happen when they reclaim their full power? Several alien factions began quietly preparing defensive measures, fearing what a fully awakened humanity might do. Zettler sensed the growing tension and arranged an emergency meeting with Frank Bennett. Some species are afraid, the Novalis ambassador explained. They fear humans will seek to dominate once more. That's not our intention, Frank assured him. Perhaps not yours personally, Zettler replied. But as more of your people remember their past glory, who can say what desires might awaken with those memories? On Mars, Alan and Susan finally unlocked the central chamber of the ancient facility. Inside, they found what appeared to be a testing ground. Various challenges and puzzles lined the walls. It's an assessment center, Susan realized, as if it was designed to measure something. Ellen studied the markings. The archives mentioned this, Before regaining their full legacy, humans would need to prove they had evolved beyond the flaws that led to the Great Collapse. "You mean this is all a test?" Susan asked. "To see if we're worthy of remembering." Hélène nodded slowly. "The facility will only fully activate if we demonstrate certain qualities: cooperation, wisdom, restraint, the things our ancestors felt we lacked before." In Antarctica, Olivia discovered a sealed vault deeper than any they had explored. The door bore a symbol they had seen repeatedly in the archives, a spiral galaxy with a bright core. "This must be the primary archive," she told Frank via video. "But it's secured with biometric locks that scan for specific genetic markers." "Can we open it?" Frank asked. "Only someone with the right genetic sequence can unlock it," Olivia explained. According to the records, these would be individuals from specific bloodlines, carriers of what they called the Remembrance. As Olivia spoke, Captain Lisa's ship landed at the Antarctic base. She walked with purpose toward the research facility, her eyes distant as if seeing things others could not. As tensions grew among the alien species, a message arrived from the highest authority in the Galactic Federation. All representatives were summoned to a secret meeting on a neutral space station. Frank Bennett and Captain Lisa attended as Earth's delegates. They were escorted to a circular chamber where representatives from 12 alien species waited. To their surprise, at the center sat Krev Moore, the ancient Novali elder. "Welcome, children of Earth," Krev Moore said, his voice stronger than his frail body suggested. "The time has come for truth." The old Novelli gestured, and holographic displays activated around the room, showing historical records dating back millions of years. "What you see before you is the true history of our galaxy," Krev Moore explained. "We, the Council of Guardians, have preserved it through the ages." Frank looked confused. "Guardians?" "Yes." Krev Moore nodded. "Long ago, your ancestors created my kind, and the ancestors of every species in this room. We were designed to guide and protect." "Protect what?" Lisa asked. "You," Krev Moore replied simply. "After the Great Collapse, when your ancestors chose to begin again, they appointed guardians from among their created children. Our purpose was to watch over humanity's development, to guide you subtly, and to ensure you would not repeat the mistakes of the past. On Mars, Alan and Susan worked to solve the challenges in the testing facility. Each puzzle required both scientific knowledge and ethical reasoning. "Look at this one," Susan said, pointing to a scenario involving resource allocation. "The solution that benefits the most people isn't the one that passes the test. It only accepts the answer that preserves future options, even if it's less efficient now." Ellen nodded. "These tests aren't about finding the quickest solution. They're about finding the wisest one." As they completed each challenge, more systems in the facility activated. Finally, after solving the central puzzle, a complex ethical dilemma involving the rights of created beings, the main computer fully awakened. "Test sequence completed," a voice announced. "Candidate species demonstrates sufficient ethical and technological advancement. Legacy access granted." A hidden door opened, revealing a vast library of knowledge. But more important than the technology was a simple message left by their ancestors. "To our descendants, if you are reading this, you have proven yourselves worthy of the legacy we left behind. Learn from our mistakes. Power without wisdom led to our downfall. Technology without compassion nearly destroyed us all. We chose to forget so that you might remember differently." Back in Antarctica, Lisa placed her hand on the vault's biometric scanner. Her palm glowed softly as the ancient system read her genetic code. "Descendant of House Arteron confirmed," the system announced. "Guardian bloodline verified." The massive door slowly opened, revealing a chamber larger than all the others combined. Inside stood thousands of stasis pods. Most were empty, but a few still functioned, containing sleeping human forms. "They're still alive," Olivia whispered in awe. "Some of our ancestors survived." At the center of the chamber stood a crystalline structure pulsing with soft blue light. When Lisa approached it, The crystal projected a holographic figure, a woman dressed in clothing from an age long forgotten. "Greetings, descendant," the figure said. "I am Admiral Elena Voss, last commander of the Terran Confederation. If you are seeing this message, the Remembrance Protocol has been activated." The hologram explained that after the devastation of the Civil War, the winning faction had chosen a radical solution. Rather than continue along their destructive path, they would reset human civilization and try again. Most humans were relocated to Earth with their memories altered. But we knew this was not a permanent solution. The hologram continued. The technologies we created would eventually be rediscovered. The knowledge we gained would be found again. So we created a test, a series of challenges spread across the stars. Only when humanity demonstrated wisdom equal to its power would the full legacy be unlocked. In the Galactic Council chamber, Krevmore revealed more of the truth to Frank and Lisa. "We were created to be guides and companions, not servants," the old Novelli explained. "Your ancestors feared that isolation would lead humanity down the same destructive path again. They believed interaction with other intelligent species would teach humans perspective and empathy." "So you've been watching us all this time?" Frank asked. Krevmore nodded, "guiding your development in subtle ways, preventing you from advancing too quickly before gaining the wisdom to handle such power." "And now?" Lisa asked. 6 months after the discoveries on Mars and Antarctica, representatives from every known species gathered on Earth. The meeting took place in a newly constructed hall in Geneva, designed to accommodate beings of all shapes and sizes. Professor Olivia Ross stood before the assembled delegates. Behind her, a massive screen displayed star maps showing the extent of ancient human civilization. "What we have learned changes everything we thought we knew about our place in the galaxy," she began. "The evidence is now undeniable. Humanity is not a young species just reaching for the stars. We are an ancient race that once spanned a third of the known galaxy." Murmurs